Dave is up a staggering 182% in the last year with revenue growing at 60%. They're finally profitable and it looks like the perfect fintech success story. But if everything is so perfect, why is the director selling everything he owns? On December 18, 2025, Director Imran Khan liquidated his entire possession, whereas CEO Jason Wilk has dumped over $25 million and CFO has sold over $17 million in stock since September 2025. They didn't sell because of valuation. The company still looks good on paper. They likely sold because of all the legal troubles. They sold right before January 1st, 2026, the day a new California law went into effect that might just make their entire business model illegal. In this video today, we're going to trace the evolution of Dave, from the guilt trip era of tipping to the hidden fee era to the bank partner loophole they're using today. And we'll also explain why, if California regulators get their way, the stock could go to zero. Dave was launched with a noble mission to kill the overdraft fee. Big banks made billions charging you $35 just because you bought a cup of coffee when your balance was low. Dave thought that was evil. Dave started offering extra cash. They would spot you $50 to $100 to cover your bills until payday. No interest, no credit check, just a friendly advance from a friend. Dave makes money from subscription fees, tips, and express fee to get access to the money faster. It worked. Millions of users signed up. It felt fair. It felt like a community. But then the regulators started doing the math. If you borrow $100 for 7 days and leave a $5 tip, that feels cheap. But if you calculate that as an APR, $5 fee and a $100 loan for a week is roughly 260% interest. Dave launched with a promise: we are the good guys, no interest, just a tip if you like us. But optional didn't pay the bills, so they weaponized psychology. In late 2024, the FTC revealed exactly how dark this got. When you went to the tip screen, Dave didn't just ask for money. They showed you a cartoon of a small child with a plate full of food, and the text implied that your tip would buy healthy meals for needy through Feeding America. If you tried to lower your tip to save $5, the app would literally animate the food disappearing from the child's plate until it was empty. They didn't use interest rates, they used emotional blackmail. You weren't saving money, you were starving a cartoon child. The FTC found that Dave kept the vast majority of the money. For every percent you tipped, they donated about 10 cents. The rest went straight to revenue. It was a 300% APR loan disguised as charity. The Federal Trade Commission isn't just suing Dave, the company. They filed an amended complaint that names CEO Jason Wilk personally. This is rare. Usually the corporate veil protects the CEO, but the FTC alleges that Jason Wilk was so directly involved in the deceptive tipping and hidden fee schemes that he should be held personally liable. Dave has already allocated roughly $50 million to handle these legal battles. That's $50 million of shareholder money set on fire just to stay out of court. And if the CEO is personally liable, his incentives will change. He isn't thinking about your stock price anymore. He is thinking about his own bank account. Maybe that explains the $25 million sale. Eventually, regulators caught on. States like Connecticut and federal agencies declared that tips on a loan are legally interest. If you lend $100 and ask for a $5 tip, that's 260% APR. That's illegal in almost every state. So Dave pivoted. They stopped emphasizing tips and introduced fees. In February 2025, Dave announced it was simplifying its fee structure. They largely moved away from optional tips and introduced a standard 5% service fee with a $5 minimum and emphasized express fees. Dave thought this was safe, but the regulators just did the math again. They argued that because Dave's customers are in financial emergencies, the 3-day wait to get the money isn't a real option. Therefore, the express fee is mandatory, and if it's mandatory, it's interest. Once again, Dave was charging triple-digit interest rates in states where the limit is 36%. This brings us to today. Dave realized they couldn't lend money legally in strict states like California, so they stopped being the lender. Dave recently moved its loan to Coastal Community Bank. Coastal is a real federally regulated bank. Under federal law, banks are allowed to export their home state's interest rate rules to other states. Basically, Dave now gets to argue, we aren't lending you the money, the bank is, and the bank is allowed to charge these fees. Here is the legal loophole. You live in California where the max interest is 36%. Whereas Coastal Bank is in Washington. Under federal law, banks can export their home state's interest rates to anywhere in the country. Dave pays Coastal to originate the loan. Coastal charges you the high fee legally, takes a cut and passes the profit back to Dave. Dave, for some reason, thought this was the golden ticket. It allowed them to ignore state laws and charge whatever they wanted. But they forgot one thing. Regulators hate loopholes. On January 1st, 2026, the shield broke. California's Senate Bill 825 went into effect. This law was written specifically for companies like Dave. It says, we don't care if you have a bank partner. If you are the one marketing the loan and keeping the profit, we can sue you for deceptive practices. And the reason this is fatal is California isn't just a state, it is Dave's home base and likely their largest market. If California regulators enforce this law, they can force Dave to cap rates at 36%. Currently, Dave makes about $15 on a $100 loan, which includes fees, subscription, and tips. That's 390% APR. Under the new law, they can only charge roughly $1.38 on a $100 loan for 2 weeks. This will result in the revenue dropping by 90% overnight. They have high fixed costs. If revenue drops 90%, they don't just make less money, they go bankrupt. And it's not just California. On December 30, 2025, the City of Baltimore filed its own lawsuit. This proves that the contagion has spread from states to cities. If Dave has to fight lawsuits in Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles simultaneously, their legal fees alone will burn through their cash. The stock is up because people see record profits, but those profits are built on a fee structure that might have become illegal in their biggest market. But let's give credit where it's due. Why is the stock rallying? Because the business is printing money right now. They raised prices without you noticing. By pushing express fees and tips, they've managed to generate massive revenue per user, even while marketing themselves as the free alternative to overdrafts. Now, let's debunk the growth story. Dave reported 67% revenue growth. That sounds amazing, but if you dig into it, you will see the truth. The user base only grew by about 13%. They are squeezing you harder and they increased the loan sizes. This isn't organic growth where everyone is signing up for Dave. This is extraction growth. They are extracting more blood from the same stone. And the problem with squeezing your customers is that eventually they break. Meanwhile, the political winds have shifted. Just recently, President Trump announced he wants to cap credit card interest rates at 10% for a year, which resulted in the stock losing over 20% in just 2 days. Now think about that. He's attacking Chase and Citibank for charging 25% interest, and Dave is out here charging effective APRs of 100 to 300%. If the president is going after the big banks for just 25%, do you think regulators will let a fintech app get away with 300%? Dave is an easy target. They don't have the lobbyists that JP Morgan has. Between the FTC, the City of Baltimore, the State of California, and now the White House's war on interest rates, Dave is standing in the middle of a firing squad. Look, I get it. The stock is moving and it's exciting, but you have to ask yourself, who knows more? You looking at a chart, or the director who sold 100% of his shares 12 days before the Baltimore lawsuit? Or the CEO who sold 25 million while being sued personally by the federal government? The growth is a mirage built on higher fees, but the legal risk is existential. Surviving in a 10% interest rate cap world with a 300% interest rate product is mathematically impossible. I wonder how long Dave will survive, but no matter where this heads, I'm not willing to bet my money to find out. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are about Dave and if you're bold enough to invest in it. Until next time, take care and thanks for watching.